certainly from sort of being old enough to really sort of like start looking at stuff like that, I never really believed it. For starters, I never really was a Christian. If you had to pin me down, I suppose, but if I was filling out some sort of form, I wouldn't really.
You wouldn't put
straight
Christian?
away tick Christian. Yeah,
Right.
I'd probably tick atheist, whatever.
Now, if I owe you dough, let's say I owe you a score, yeah? And you say, I want my score. I say, I can't pay you. And then my man here goes, you know what? I'll pay you. Here's the score. Have you forgiven anything?
Because of the Western sort of like mainstream media and all the rest of it, that Islam is then demonised and all the rest of it. I mean, and I can really go into stuff like that. I'm a big believer in all of that. But then that puts people away from Islam.
Now, you did say you had some questions, isn't it?
Yeah, no, but
I want the harsh questions though. I want the controversial. I want the stuff that you think if you came to the park and asked those questions, Muslims around would want to behead you. Anyway, Rob.
Right, hello.
Okay, so what do you believe and why do you believe it?
Well, like I said, I don't know what. If you had to pin me down, I would actually say I don't even know what I believe. You know what I mean? Throughout my life, I've been too much like the average English white boy.
Yeah.
Religion's never really been particularly drummed into me. I went to a Church of England junior school. You obviously we didn't study the Bible, but you went through it. We sang hymns and stuff like that. I've always questioned, certainly from sort of being old enough to really sort of like start looking at stuff like that. I never really believed it. For starters, I never really was a Christian. If you had to pin me down, I suppose, but if I was filling out some sort of form, I wouldn't really.
You wouldn't put
straight
Christian?
away tick Christian. Yeah,
Right.
I'd probably tick atheist, whatever. But that was because I wasn't really enlightened in any particular way. But I wasn't really bothered either. Whatever. And it's not that I've been particularly searching over the last few years, but then you ask more and more questions, etc. But I was always of the idea that I believed that Jesus Christ was a real person, but I never believed that he was the Son of God. Not that I put too much thought or too much particular reason in it. I just found the idea rather.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just you couldn't really sort of fully sort of take that as read. But then when you start, I suppose when I then start looking at Islam, which is the main sort of like opposing religion, if you like, there's certain things in that when I just think, well, too many things seem to fit there to make it convenient for them. Just say one particular example, which maybe you might be able to bring up. Muhammad is the last prophet, so it makes it quite convenient. It's almost to sort of like shut off any other future potential religion or someone that comes along to say, no, actually I am in touch with God. It's in Islam's interest to say that. It could well be true. But all it is just a question. I'm not, to the contrary of it. It's just, it's something there. But I just think that is quite potentially convenient. Okay. I'm not saying that I disbelieve it. And it's all these, it's just other things. It's just sort of, because I suppose in everything there's always going to be questions. But that's one. It's just one point.
Yeah.
I think it's rather convenient.
Okay. Well, just to address that convenience. Okay. If you want to say Muhammad is the last of the prophets, and he's the final one. Okay. If you look at the previous prophets, all of them indicated someone coming after them. All of them. Up to even Jesus indicated someone's coming after him with all the truth or whatever. And if you look at what the prophets taught, it was limited to the people. Yeah? But God in his wisdom knew that when his final prophet comes, and if he is going to be the final prophet, it means there's nothing more to be said. So the question needs to be asked, what else could have been added? Because everything is covered. Yeah? This is the first thing. Second thing, who is claiming he's the last prophet? The Quran is. So now it leads us back to, who is the author of the Quran? Now, if you're using an assumption that Muhammad, peace be upon him, wrote the Quran himself, your point stands. That if he is the author of the Quran, he could say what he likes. Yeah? And then he could say he's the last prophet. Yeah? But if he isn't the author of the Quran, and we believe the author of the Quran is who? Almighty. And if God is telling us he's the last prophet, he's the last prophet. But if you don't accept the premise of the Quran being from God, you can challenge that. It's not from God. Yeah? So here's what you've got to understand, the principle we have to establish before going anywhere. What is belief? What is belief? How do you understand belief? I believe in Big Bang Theory. I believe we evolved from monkeys, or we evolved from ape-like ancestors, or the tree of life. I believe Jesus is the Son of God. I believe Vishnu is God. Yeah? What does it mean? I believe in unicorns, as atheists like to say. Right. What does belief mean? Because you can claim, I believe in Thor. You can claim all of this stuff. All right. I had an atheist say to me many times, I believe in one less God than you. I heard Ricky Gervais say it, actually.
Right, one less God than you.
Yeah, there's 3,000 gods. You reject 2,999 of them. I reject them all. So I just reject one more God than you. All right. It's a nonsense. Because a belief is what? The acceptance of something to be true, with or without evidence. So like we said earlier, you can't prove a belief. Because a belief is what? Without evidence. But a belief is, if it's acceptance of something, it means you've seen or read or heard or been taught something that has brought you to the realization that it's true. And I'll give you an example. I believe my daughters are my daughters. I've not had a DNA test done. Yeah? So they might not be my daughters, right? But I believe, as a fact, they are my daughters. Why do I believe that? Because I know my wife's nature. I know we've been together, and so I can then bring all these different reasons in.
Supporting evidence.
Yeah. Now, I would take my reasons for my belief more than a DNA test, because I need a DNA test can be faked. Yeah. So someone could give someone else's thing, or or doctor the record, or whatever. But if you say that's your standard, the DNA test, then that means someone can fool you completely. Because if they do doctor it and they give it you think this is proof now.
Then you take that as read.
Yeah, and that means then I reject all the reasons. My loving wife, I know she's faithful, I know she'll never do this to me. My daughters look like me, they have my characteristics. And I'm throwing all that away over what? A DNA test? Well, no. So the reasons why I believe is stronger than the proof. You get that point? Now, this can be applied to anything. So if an atheist comes along with his claim, he believes we evolved from a common ancestor. That the way human beings are here today, there is no God. Yeah? And we're here because of some common ancestor, whether it's a tree of life, whether it's the web of life, whether it's a hedge of life, we're here. Yeah? But the problem they have, they need a reason for that. And what they do, they cite data, DNA, fossil records, yeah? But the problem they've got is 5 different versions of evolution. Few mutation, natural selection, all of these things, yeah? Using the same data. So if you're using the same data coming up with 5 conclusions, that means you don't have the truth, just a belief. Right. So when I say I believe in a creator, which, what am I saying? I believe in an uncaused cause that all that exists. Yeah? That is not a subjective opinion. Why not? I believe everything that begins to exist requires a cause. And I just don't believe that. I don't know of anything that begins to come into existence that doesn't have a cause. Yeah? So once we have that principle, I then believe that the universe also came into existence. Yeah? So if I believe the universe came into existence, what does that mean? It requires a cause. Now at this point, some smart-ass atheists in the crowd would probably shout, "Oh, great God then!" Yeah? But the problem you have is, if the cause of the universe has a cause, then that cause would require a cause. And then that cause would require a cause. And what you'd have to do, then you have the problem of infinite regression, where you would need a start point. Now then we would employ Occam's razor, yeah, and make it to its simplest form. So we will go from effect to cause. That cause needs to be uncaused, no matter how far you want to go. At some point, the start has to be uncaused. So my belief that the universe is the consequence of an uncaused cause kind of challenged. Unless you believe the universe always existed. And if you believe the universe always existed, you would then have to present your reasons for why you believe the universe has always existed. Yeah? No, I'm just giving an example of belief.
No, exactly, yeah.
You don't get your hand up, have you? I thought you were going to ask a question then. No. You look like you didn't say, what is it? I'm going to ask a question. All right. So here's the thing, you see. I believed in the existence of an uncaused cause of all that exists 2 years before being a Muslim. Yeah? I used to be an atheist. I was like you. I was baptized Methodist, grew up not believing in God. I used to go to Sunday school and whatever. I think that was just childcare on a Sunday, to be honest. Yeah, free childcare. And I grew up in a world where God didn't matter. I didn't grow up with a conscious idea rejecting the idea of God. I didn't grow up loving God, knowing God. Went to school, nativity play. I think I was a Roman soldier in one of the nativities, I remember correctly, wearing a skirt or something. So I grew up with that. But as I grew out of the Easter Bunny and I grew out of Father Christmas and all of these things, I grew out of this idea that God is the Son and Jesus is the Son of God and all of this stuff. Because I wasn't born believing this. I come to the conclusion someone had taught me this. Yeah? And for me, I can throw it away with Easter Bunny. Right? It was only when I met Muslims who questioned this idea of a creator and an uncaused cause without mentioning religion. Yeah? So this brought me to the conclusion that, you know what, there must be a creator. And then what qualities must this creator possess? Must be intelligent. If he's caused this, must be intelligent. If he's caused this, must be all-powerful. Yeah? So now I have a situation where I have a belief in an uncaused cause of all that exists, which is intelligent and all-powerful. I got to find out about this guy, man. Yeah? When I say guy, I'm not talking about gender here. I'm talking about, yeah? God doesn't have a gender. We don't believe that sense. Now, the atheists will at this point say, God of the gaps, God of the gaps, God of the gaps. Don't know what it is, God of the gaps, yeah? But what an atheist will do is energy of the gaps. Oh, we don't know what it is. Energy. Must be energy. Energy can't be created or destroyed. But they forget to tell the end of that dynamic law. Energy cannot be created or destroyed within a closed system. So outside of a closed system, outside of the universe, energy can be created. Okay. So once we have this claim that, and then the atheists will do this other thing then. What caused the universe? Oh, we don't know. We don't know. Yeah? We don't know. It wasn't God, but we don't know. You've got a problem, mate. Why don't you know? And the reason you don't know is the tool you're using, science, has an assumption that everything that exists has a natural explanation. So you're using a tool that will only accept a natural explanation. So we don't know what caused the universe to exist, but it must be natural. It must be natural because everything's natural. It's a false assumption.
What do you, I mean, when you say, you know, like the cause as such,
yes.
What do you think, say, God's cause is as such? To what end is his running of the universe, his creation of us? To what end is it?
To be honest with you,
or haven't got a clue. Exactly.
We might find
that not for us to know.
Maybe not. See, we only. Here's the thing. You see, what we don't do is speak about God things we don't know. Because then, if I said I believe it's because of this, because of that, you could ask me, why do you believe that? Then I start saying, well, you know, if you look around and this and that, whatever, then all of us.
I don't know. Even that is quite an exciting answer. It's sort of like an admission, because I think a lot of people have misconceptions, like myself, that all religions do hold the answer as such to, you know, what the purpose is.
No, we believe the purpose. See, we're told the purpose of this life.
We don't actually know.
We don't know the purpose of our original creation. We don't know whether or not after this test we're going to be used for something else. We haven't got a clue. Yeah? But what we do know, for a fact, we're here. But even that can be contested. Oh, you could be a brain in a jar on someone's desk, or an alien, some nonsense like that. That's out of the window for me anyway. So I hold the premise I do exist, yeah? And I hold the premise that this thing has caused me to exist, and everything to exist. Now I need to connect to it. So I look around in the world. Has anyone communicated with this creator, geezer? Christians? Yeah, it was us. Yeah. Jews? Yeah, we did. Hindus? Woo, it's creators? Really? When I look at the characteristics of their creator, it doesn't match what I believe a creator has to be. Yeah? For example, I can't believe that my creator, who caused the heavens and earth to come into existence, is an animal of any kind. Yeah? I can't believe he's a statue. Yeah? I can't believe that he cannot do something because of, oh, he's too holy. So, for example, the premise in Christianity is what? That Adam was in this pure state, walking with God, and then when he sinned, then he became in this other state now, and we can't get back to that pure state of Adam.
Which is the forbidden fruit.
Yes, which we can't get back there until what? Until we believe Jesus, who is God, came down to die for us, to forgive us. Now here's the problem you've got now. If God is all merciful, this is your claim, and God is just, this is your claim, why can't he just forgive me if I ask him? Why can't I just say, you know what, I made a mistake, please forgive me? Yeah? But no, God says, I want blood. Yeah? I want blood. So Jesus dies for us, so he receives his blood. Yeah? Now if I owe you dough, let's say I owe you a score, yeah? And you say, I want my score. I say, I can't pay you. And then my man here goes, you know what? I'll pay you. Here's the score. Have you forgiven anything?
Have I forgiven anything?
Yeah.
What, from you?
Yeah.
Towards you? Well, I'm going to ask quite probably, yeah. But I mean,
No, but you haven't. You know why?
Well, because he's paying me. I mean,
No, because you've took your payment.
Yeah.
Now, if you said to him, don't give me a score, just give me a tenner, then you forgive a tenner.
I shouldn't be doing that here.
Yeah, but this has been happening a while now.
Is it?
Building up in it.
Yeah.
What's happening?
Hey, Jaffa's in the house.
Assalamu Hey, hold on. No, black man.
Stop being racist.
Shall we move? Yeah. Honestly, let's move. You did a way of life or a communicado with this creator that marries up with my definition of a creator. So as soon as I see someone preach, yeah, this is from God, and it doesn't match up with my creator, I have to throw it away. Now there's two versions of a creator. It's taught by Judaism and Islam. Yeah, those two I can take. Yeah, because they match exactly. All powerful, all knowing, all intelligent, all of these things. Yeah. Only Islam and Judaism marries up with that. But then when I get to Judaism, they'll tell me, you know, oh, sorry, this is for us. We're the chosen people. This is, you know, oh, that's not for me then. Right? So when we talk about Muhammad being the last prophet, you see, if you look through history and how God has conditioned the people, it started off with those, sent all the prophets to them. Yeah, started off, all the prophets were sent to them until they got to a point where their final messenger was who? Jesus. So the last messenger sent to the children of Israel was Jesus. And even then they tried to kill. Okay, so now the message comes out from that now. Yeah, that was their final chance. You see, the only prophet of God who, now, do you know what a prophet is?
Yeah, it was someone that spoke God's word as such.
Yeah, someone who calls, someone who speaks, basically. And a prophet of God is someone who speaks on behalf of God.
Of God, yeah, receives his message and
so
relates it to the
exactly. So the only prophet of God who claims to be speaking on behalf of God, just as a messenger would speak on behalf of the king, is Muhammad. The only one who claimed to come for the whole world was Muhammad.
So Jesus actually did not actually claim to speak.
No, if you look what Jesus teaches, I mean, we have a bigger problem than that because we don't really know what Jesus did and taught. We really, really don't. We're told that the New Testament is teachings of Jesus. It isn't.
Right.
It isn't. It's echoes. It's echoes.
Yeah.
It's echoes. The gospel writers themselves were not eyewitnesses. Yeah, they took it from second-hand information.
Yeah.
So we've got a question. You don't even know who's telling you this stuff.
Exactly, because I questioned. because obviously, again, the way that we're brought up, and obviously in this country, you know, I've had more dealings with Christianity, and you know, and speaking to sort of like Christians, and sort of it was enlightening and stuff. But I was actually surprised and a little bit sort of disheartened, really.
Yeah.
Not that I particularly wanted to be particularly Christian. When someone said, "Well, it's an allegory, really," it's like we don't really know. It's this, that, and the other. It's, you know, it's sort of. Like what you just said.
One Christian will tell you that, but I guarantee if I find a Christian here now, they'll say the gospel's inspired by God, else, it's all the word of God. Because they don't know what they're saying. No. They don't know what they're doing. All right, but let's just say for the sake of the discussion, let's just say I allow it in the sense of, okay, we'll concede that Jesus did speak these words. If you look at the teachings of Jesus in the New Testament, it's nothing to do with Gentiles. Jesus said, "Go ye not to the Gentile, enter ye not the city of the Samaritan, for I have not been sent but to who? The lost sheep of the house of Israel." When the Canaanite woman came saying, "Oh, my daughter's possessed with a demon," what did he say? He ignored her. And his disciples sent her away. And he turned to them and said, "Don't you know I have not been sent but to the lost sheep of the house of Israel? Is it fair to give the bread of the children to the dogs?" So Jesus is clear in what he's doing here. Yeah. When Jesus left this earth, the disciples of Jesus were still Jews. They were still keeping the law. They were still doing their thing. You understand? They were still praying in the synagogues. There was no like transformation that all of a sudden the law's gone. It's only later developments that this occurs. Do you get me? So when we look at what Jesus teaches, he doesn't teach he came for the whole world. And even the claims that in the Great Commission in Matthew, where it says, "Go and now go back to all nations in the names of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, make disciples of all nations." Okay. That's quite profound. Oh, Jesus, look, after he was crucified, he resurrected, and he goes to the disciples and says, "Go do this, go do that, go do the other." Now we're questioning belief here. So I have to ask the question, why do you believe Jesus actually said those words? Why do you believe that what's written in the Gospel of Matthew can be relied upon? Oh, he was a disciple of Jesus, this, that, the other. Forgive me, I'm just going to put my coat on, it's a bit chilly. So he goes, oh, he was a disciple of Jesus, Matthew the tax collector. So now you're implying that he was an eyewitness. Doesn't say that. Doesn't imply that. Now, if I told you something about the Gospel of Matthew, it's a Jewish gospel, which means it's aimed at the Jews to convince them Jesus is who they're trying to claim he is. Yeah. And so what Matthew does, the author of Matthew, he makes stuff up. He literally makes stuff up. For example, at the crucifixion of Jesus, there's an earthquake, dead bodies come out of the ground going. No one else mentions it. Except him. And I found this beautiful one yesterday. It's really, really quite profound, actually. In the Gospel of Matthew, right, there's a story of King Herod. And in this story, King Herod is killing all the babies. Yeah, you know the story?
I've heard that, well, yes, yeah. That's why Moses got sent down the river.
No, that's Moses. That's different. That's Pharaoh.
Ah, the Pharaoh. I know King Herod went. Did he go killing all the children because he thought one of them was Jesus Christ?
Right. I'll explain to you. So what happens in the Gospel of Matthew? The three wise men go to King Herod.
That's it.
Asking, we'll follow the star from the east. Da 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 da. Herod hears that the King of the Jews is born. Herod's the king of the Jews.
That's right.
So he thinks this is an usurper to his crown.
Yeah.
So he says to the wise man, go to where he is and then let us know where he is. Yeah? Dodge, yes, see, dower. So he says to them, go find him. When you pinpoint where he is, come and let us know. So obviously he wants to deal with him. Yeah. So the wise men go there and then they have a dream saying, don't go back to Herod, go back to where you come from. Yeah? Which is implying what? Jesus is the Son of God and he's going to come from Egypt. Now here's the problem. Nowhere in the Bible does it mention Herod did this, except in the Gospel of Matthew. Nowhere in secular history does it talk of this. There's a man called Flavius Josephus. Christians like to use him as confirming the crucifixion, yeah? He's an historian. And he specifically wrote about the atrocities Herod committed. And yet he doesn't mention this either. So we've got a situation now. Matthew is telling this story as if it's an historical event where none of history reports it.
So what purpose do you think that lie was made up?
I'm going to tell you.
Out of a genuine
I'm going to tell you.
Cock up?
I'm going to tell you. No. So what happens is, this line where it says, the Lord shall call his son from Egypt, yeah, is from a verse in the Old Testament in the book of Hosea. And in that book of Hosea, that is ripped and taken completely out of context. Because if you read the book of Hosea, the son is being referred to as Israel. Mm-hmm. And God is talking about Israel being rescued from Egypt. Yeah? Because he talks about them, my people, and whatever.
Yeah.
And what the author of Matthew did, he took where it says, and the Lord shall call his son from Egypt, took that, put it in the scripture as prophecy, and then invented a reason why Jesus would have had to be in Egypt.
Right. As in, so basically King Herod wanted to go with the baby.
So because otherwise, what reason would Jesus have to be in Egypt? Because no other gospel mentions Jesus going to Egypt, only the Gospel of Matthew. So we have Gospel of Matthew making up events that never occurred, claiming their history, yeah, to support a prophecy which is out of context. To what end? To what end? Because what did I say earlier? This is a gospel to the Jews, yeah. What's he trying to do? Subliminally compare Jesus to Moses. As Moses, when he was a baby and Pharaoh ordered the killing of the babies, yeah, trying to make the comparison, yeah, where Moses brought them out of Egypt, came out of Egypt, yeah, they're trying to make the same comparison. Why? Because in Deuteronomy 18, God says we should raise a prophet like you. So they're trying to convince the Jews that your prophecy in Deuteronomy 18:18 is talking about Jesus.
Related to this, so you should convert to Christianity, basically.
That you should be following that. You should be following Jesus.
This is
Exactly.
Right.
Now, flipping heck, what's going on here? And a Christian believes this is true. Now, what did I say about belief? Reasons for it. Yeah? It's abysmal, man. It's abysmal. And like I say, Matthew talks about these dead bodies coming out. No one else mentions dead bodies coming out of the tomb. Matthew talks about the 3 days and 3 nights Jesus being in the belly of the earth.
So it's a con, basically, and a corruption to basically get people to follow the way, even though they know it's wrong. They've made it up in order to what? Have power, manipulate.
That's it. Because what you got to look at is this, yeah. You know the four gospels. So I'm going a bit heavy onto Christianity, but see what I have to do. You see, you're living in England, yeah. So for you, the religions is what? Atheism, Christianity, or Islam? In reality, you're either going to be an atheist, or you're going to be a Christian, or you're going to be a thing. So what I like to do, I like to take things off the table. Yeah. So for example, I like the Sherlock Holmes. You heard the Sherlock Holmes quote? When you eliminate what's impossible, whatever's left, no matter how improbable, has to be the truth. Yeah? So your option is Christianity. I'm going to show you right now, even if you don't embrace Islam and don't recognize Islam as the truth, whatever, you won't become a Christian. Because the reasons you're rejecting Islam, trust me, you're rejecting Christianity.
Well, yeah, so even on a much more basic level, I've always questioned Christianity a lot more. Hence, and I think a lot of people have, hence the reason that I was grown up. As I say, I went to a Church of England primary school, really. It's indoctrinated, but why have I come away from it at such an early age? Why have I never really followed it? And so many other people, why are they lost in it? Not only in its dreary nature is it sort of put across, but there are too many holes.
But why are people...
But the thing is that then, because of the Western sort of like mainstream media and all the rest of it, that Islam is then demonised and all the rest of it. I mean, and I can really go into stuff like that. I'm a big believer in all of that. But then that puts people away from Islam, though. So then people are left in the middle. Hence the reason why there are so many atheists. In this country, basically.
Look, the reason there's so many
people are away from faith. But then at the end of the day, he's leading, because I'm 43 now. Now, I'm not saying...
I've got 1 year on you. I'm 44. Okay.
So, but I'm not saying that I've led the worst life in the world, but I certainly haven't led like a pure life. And then I suppose that when you start getting older, you appreciate stuff more, and then you do question, and then you start looking at faith. And I know I can't go back to Christianity, and then you start looking at the purpose of faith and stuff like that. And the way that I see it is, I've lived far too long as an atheist, and it's maybe where I could get sort of like a conspiracy theorist, but maybe where they want you away from God, because which means that you live for the here and now.
Exactly.
You live for the minute, and I have lived my life for the minute, totally. But that gets you nowhere. But then, so you start looking, you're thinking, well, if I'm going to start trying to look a little bit more that this is not only this life, a marathon, not a sprint, but onto the eternal, then and then it is in connection with God, and actually sort of, because as you say, all the things you talk about that we shouldn't do, like drinking, gambling, smoking, everything that is a quick rush, a quick hit now in your human form. Maybe I'm saying the wrong thing. It can be good, but only for that amount of time. And that's what I'm realising now, that then afterwards it can hurt you. And then I suppose the last thing is that if you do, then, you know, if you start questioning, and it leaves us in this state of where there's lots of questions to answer, and we're in a situation where Christianity doesn't really feel those questions.
No, Christianity can't.
But Islam all of a sudden becomes this sort of, because of the papers you read, the TV, you switch it on, it becomes this sort of scary, not scary, it's, you know,
No, but this is what I want to answer today.
Yeah.
I want to answer the stuff you're concerned about.
As I say, I mean, I see it, but I can speak for a lot of people.
But let me just go back to a point you said earlier, right?
Yeah.
See, you said about, oh, the drink is enjoyable now, but then when you die later, no, forget that. I wouldn't even go that far, mate. I would say that if you drink now, you can become a victim of alcohol now.
Yeah, no, that's what I was saying. Yeah.
Oh, is it? Oh, right,
yeah,
right,
I was
right.
saying that. Yeah, not even from the point of being, you know,
when you die, and we're talking about in this life.
Yeah, in this life. Yeah.
Because if you look at those things you mentioned, alcohol, like I've said it many times, alcohol, drugs, gambling, sexual immorality, all of these things, yeah, you could come unstuck with them in this life. Because one atheist said to me, if God doesn't exist, I don't know if you've seen the video. If God doesn't exist, then you lose. Yeah, he says, right. I lose. I'm the loser. I said, of course.
I have seen that video.
Yeah, and I said very simply, if God doesn't exist, as you claim, I win. Because the life I've led has been clean, healthy, all the things that are destroying societies I'm safe from, I'm protected from.
Yeah.
I have a guidance to give my children, something for them to hold on to, some kind of standard.
Yeah, purity, really.
Because human beings, we need what? We need a moral anchor. We need something to measure right and wrong by.
Yeah.
Yeah? And the problem you have is when you get corrupt politicians telling you what's right and wrong, you start questioning them. Why should I believe what they flipping say? Yeah. Yeah? So you need a moral anchor. Now, the problem we have with morality is it's subjective. So morality cannot even cross the sea. So, and I'll give you a prime example of this, how morality can't cross the sea and how Christianity cannot help. Yeah. So in England, Christian country, the sex age is what, 16? Way too young. But anyway, 16. If you sleep with a 15-year-old girl in England, you're a paedophile and it's immoral according to the society you live, yeah? In the Philippines, it isn't an issue. Christian country. 12-year-old, as long as you don't pay her, for example. In another country, in Italy, you sleep with a 17-year-old, you're a paedophile. Right? So morality can't even cross the sea. Forget time. So some of the things you might have against Islam, maybe the age of Aisha when she married the Prophet ﷺ, all of this stuff is legit. But morality can't even cross the sea, mate. Yeah? So if for example, the argument is, I'm going to do an 8 mile here, yeah? Let's say the argument is, I don't believe your prophet was a prophet, a messenger of God, because he married a 6-year-old and he consummated the marriage when she was 9 and he's a paedophile, mate. Fantastic. That's your claim, all right? What did I say about belief? What's your reasons for belief? What's your reason? What's a paedophile? What's a paedophile? It's a question.
Someone who likes children over adults, as they say. Yeah. Someone who sleeps
No, according to the definition, is what? A paedophile is somebody who sleeps with a
child.
Prepubescent. A paedophile lusts after children. And in his mind, a child is not a 15-year-old girl. In his mind, a child is a prepubescent.
Yes, 6-year-old, 7-year-old.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
So if the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessing upon him, was in a paedophile, let's just say this was his sexual gratification, his lust, why did he wait to consummate the marriage? If he married a 6-year-old and he's a paedophile, that's what he's after. All right. Second thing is, if he was indeed a paedophile, why, when Aisha reached maturity, did he not go for another child? Yeah? This is a man who has the power of all Arabia at his hands. This is a man who lives in a society that marrying a 6-year-old isn't a problem. Yeah? Why isn't it a problem? Because that was the standard. There was no teenagers in them days. Now, I'll tell you something you might not know. If the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessing upon him, lived in London, England, 800 years ago, 12th century, he could have married Aisha at the age of 6 and consummated the marriage when she was 9, according to the law. Right? So what we're trying to say here now is that, look,
contradictions, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hypocrisy.
So let's say tomorrow there's a law passed and the age of sex with a girl is going to be raised to 18. Anything below 18, you're a paedophile. Does that mean everyone who slept with a 17-year-old girl is a paedophile now?
Yeah, of course not.
Right. So the claims are not supported by the evidence. Because if you were a paedophile, if you were Jimmy Savile and had that power, you'd have rooms full. You would, and don't forget, what's the other thing? You're inventing this religion. Oh, you can have as many wives as you like, mate.
Right,
Yeah? And you would encourage it and you would make society accept this as something normal. But he was married to, I think it's 13 women, only one virgin. All his other wives were widows or divorcees. So you can make a claim. Now here's the problem, what happens now. This goes back on the person making the claim now. So what you're saying is this, the only reason he could have married her was for sexual gratification. That's your sick mind, man. Yeah? There could have been other reasons why he married her. Yeah? Now, what do we glean from that is that she was one of the greatest scholars in Islam, for what we know. We know all about the life of the Prophet and his wives from her. Most of the narrations come from her. So, and that destroys this idea that women witnesses need to and all that. Yeah? If that's the case, so I'm killing some of these birds with one stone here, yeah? So if this claim that they also make is that a woman's less than a man and you need two witnesses, right? If this is the case, why do we accept the testimony of Aisha? She's a woman. We should say, no, we need another woman to verify what Aisha said is true, wouldn't we? So it makes a nonsense of that as well. So what you've got to realise is this, Islam is a threat to this way of life. The people who run your society now, Islam is a threat to them because they're on a gravy train. They want you drinking alcohol, they want you smoking, they want you doing all of this stuff, they want you gambling, they want you getting into debt and all of this stuff. Why? So you don't think about what they're doing.
No, exactly.
You're so busy in your life, you ain't got time to worry about it. You're totally off your face on a weekend and then you're back to work.
Or you're
and what
in
now?
Financial prison with debt.
Yeah. So all of this stuff, but what Islam is doing now is all the distractions that they put in your way, Islam's saying, nah, I'm not having it, mate. So also now you get in a society of people who are thinking about things, reflecting upon things, questioning those in authority. And what the biggest threat to these people is what? A free thinking mind. They want you to believe what the TV tells you. So what do you do when you have something like Islam and you don't want the people to have it? You pile crap on top of it.
Demonize it, yeah.
Completely.
Yeah.
You take people away from it. You make it look so bad, so oppressive, so misogynistic, so homophobic, so this, so that you won't even look at it. As soon as you mention the word, you're automatically thinking of all of that crap. And the problem we have, we're there. We spend all that time getting rid of the crap before we get to the treasure.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
No, definitely.
Good. Your mic or his mic?
Your mic.
And since I worked with Abdul and we've spoke, I mean, cheers mate, all the best. I've totally found that, and I mean, I think it's one of the biggest injustices around because there's not enough teaching of it. I feel it's purposely suppressed.
Yeah, completely.
Until I got speaking, started learning about it. The more I learned about it, I thought actually, this is more in tune with just what I've generally thought about, even, without ever being particularly religious, just what I think about the world, the universe, the here, everything. Actually, Muslim is probably the closest, or Islam is the closest to what, and it does seem to fit. And I'm thinking, well, hang on a minute, we're all this sort of like, hodgepodge of people all living together now. Surely they'd want this to be in talk so we can all get on, understand this, that and the other. And I think it is purposely suppressed because they see it as a threat to their status.
Some people try to claim Islam is racist.
Yeah.
Islam is not racist. Yeah, because we know the Prophet Muhammad said black is not greater than white, white is not greater than black, Arab is not better than Arab. We know this. Standard. Yeah, go to the mosque, you see a multitude. Now that doesn't mean some Muslims are not racist. Because they are.
Yeah.
Because you have to look at
human beings, at the end of the day, you can't control everything.
A lot of it comes from the sub-Indian continent, to be honest with you. Because why? Because they were all Hindus before. And they had this proper racist connotation within them. This culture, Brahmins, untouchables, all of this stuff. Yeah? And so when Islam, when they became Muslims, a lot of their culture was attached with it. Yeah? So a lot of the time you see a lot of oppression of women is mainly coming from the sub-Indian continent, mainly. Not having to dig at the sub-Indian continent, just stay facts. Alright? So why? Because of the heritage, because women are worthless in Hinduism. When the husband died, the woman was burned on his fire with his possessions. Yeah? So this is some of the things that, look at the woman walking behind and all that. Look, you claim a woman's oppressed in Islam, yeah? Speak to a Moroccan woman, speak to a Somali.
Just speak to.
Do you know the most abused men in the world?
70s and 80s, and it's not that much different now. Like indoors, isn't it? You know what I mean? They're still suppressed. It's an hypocrisy to say that. No,
what it is, you see, because now they're modernised and everything's equality and all of this stuff.
But then they're still suppressing the workplace. Even now they're at work.
No.
It's still a.
Yeah. So you understand the score.
Yeah.
All right. So What? So you believe? I'm pretty sure you believe in God, isn't it? Our Creator. Because even if you didn't, you have to concede my idea of a Creator.
No, I do. I mean,
it's not subjective.
Even when I've never even, given religion a second thought, been too busy just, living for the minute. I've always said,
What football team do you support, by the way?
West Ham.
West Ham. Yeah.
But I'm spiritual, but not religious.
No. I get it.
But now I'm thinking, at the end of the day, I'm coming to that conclusion now that I don't think you can be spiritual without being religious.
Alhamdulillah.
Exactly.
Yes,
so, so now all I'm doing now is just. Sort of scratching a bit deeper than the surface and just, sort of trying to find answers to my questions. I know that I think my personal belief is the actual essence is we're not meant to find out all the answers. That's the mystery of life. That's the test of faith.
Do you know what Allah calls us?
That's the commitment.
Do you know what Allah calls us in the Quran? Oh, you who believe. And what's a belief? It can't be proven.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
But just because, like I said to you earlier, just because it's a belief doesn't make it hairy fairy unicorns and spaghetti monsters. Yeah? Belief, like I said, I believe my daughters are my daughters, based on the reasons supporting my belief. Yeah? So Allah tells us in the Quran, oh you who believe. So when you get atheists, prove your God. You can't prove your God. Bring me evidence now. Bring me something I can observe. This is nonsense. This is illogical. Because like I said to you, one of the assumptions of science is this metaphysical doesn't exist. Everything is natural. One atheist said to me, I said to him, how can you measure God if you don't believe in the supernatural? He goes, yeah, but when God interferes with the earth, like a flood, then we can test that. I says, no, you can't. Why? Let's just say there was a flood, and we said, oh, this is a miracle from God and did this. What's the first thing an atheist is going to do? Firstly, there must be a natural explanation. And then if they don't know what the natural explanation is, because of the false assumption of science, that there has to be a natural explanation, they won't accept any other explanation anyway. So when they ask for evidence, they don't have the tools to measure it. So it's like me saying to you, here's a tape measure, tell me how much I weigh. You haven't got the tools to measure it. So there has to be some other way, and that's where belief kicks in, and we check reasons for the belief. Yeah? And when we come to that, then we recognize it. Everything. Now, you did say you had some questions, isn't it?
Yeah, no, but...
I want the harsh questions though. I want the controversial. I want the stuff that you think, if you came to the park and asked those questions, Muslims around would want to behead you.
Well, no, but I don't think I've ever had any questions.
No, that's in people's minds. Oh, you can't offend the Muslims.
Just say, for instance, like we've got a Christian guy over there talking earlier, he was like in his late 70s, early 80s, it looked like he'd been a very nice, peace-loving man all of his life, but he believes in the Trinity, all the rest of it, he's preaching it, this, that and the other. Now, I know it's down to God, no one understands, but say from a Muslim point of view, I mean, is he going to hell for preaching that? None of us, I suppose, essentially know, but...
All we can do is go for what God has told us and warned us. We can only be judged of what we knew. Did Islam come to you in a manner you could understand, in a language you can understand, in a way you can understand? So, for example, if you were a Yazidi, for example, and ISIS came into your town with swords and whatever it was, that's not Islam. You're not going to embrace that Islam. You're going to think, wow, you're going to think, bloody hell, Islam is a bunch of nutters with flipping knives. You understand? So, can God judge you on that? That the only experience you had with Muslims was guys with big beards coming into your town with blades?
Surely he's going to reason and go, fair enough.
You're going to say, you know what I mean? So you can only be judging what you knew. Like I asked a question, like my grandfather, he passed away long ago. Now, he grew up in Wivenshaw, in Manchester. I can't imagine Islam ever getting near him. I really can't imagine it. I believe he has an excuse. I don't know for sure. But I believe he has an excuse. But, and this is the crux, when you die, you ain't going to worry about no one else. You ain't going to have time to think about anyone else. You might not even remember those people anymore. You'll be concerned with yourself. So rather than worry about, the question should be, what's going to happen to me? And the way it works is this. We believe what we do as a Muslim. Why? From the Quran. And we believe that is the word of God. Why do we believe it's the word of God? Well, because first of all, it claims to be, and then it challenges with 2 falsification tests to refute it. So just like Einstein did with the theory of relativity, he gave you a theory, and then he said, to disprove my theory, you should be able to do this, and you should be able to do this. When you can't do this, and you can't do this, then my theory is correct, So what the Quran says, this is the word of Allah. For those who in doubt, produce something like it, which is for the Arabs really.
I suppose because the Quran, forgive me if I'm wrong, was it what 6th century, 600 AD around then? And hearing you actually say something earlier was interesting because I knew that the Romans converted to Christianity around 300 AD. So what was you talking about?
Constantine and that, yeah?
Yeah, and that's when the Trinity was...
That's when the formula was finalised.
Was created.
Yeah.
See, now, I mean, I've always, slightly digressing,
No,
I personally believe that it was a contract by the Romans. I don't think them themselves, the real hierarchy ever really did. It was more of a case, if you can't beat them, join.
Do you want to hear a fun fact?
Go for it.
Okay. At the Council of Nicaea, under the head of Constantine, the Trinity was born. Constantine died a Unitarian.
Right,
so when Constantine died, he didn't believe Jesus was the Son of God.
No, exactly, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So that's just a fun fact.
Yeah.
So this idea...
I mean, that explains my...
Yeah. So when earlier, when my man Richard was talking about, oh, this is the most popular version of Christianity,
yeah.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
It's spread by the bloody sword.
Yeah.
You know, when you talk about religion spread by the sword.
Yeah.
You know, I was on Facebook, they was talking about, there was some football match, and it was Saudi Arabia versus Australia. I don't know if you've seen the videos, it was going around on Facebook. A lot of the anti-Islamic sites had it. And basically it said there was a minute's silence for some terrorist attack, maybe the London attacks maybe, and there was, I think it was a couple of Australians who died, and they did a minute's silence. And the Saudis didn't look like they were respecting the minute's silence. They weren't talking, but they weren't all stood in a huddle and whatever. No. I couldn't really work out what was going on. But it was some of the questions, some of the comments that made me chuckle a little bit. It says, well, we shouldn't allow them to come and play football in Europe if that's... I was like, playing Australia, mate. Sorry, Australia, first thing. Then they say, yeah, and then someone said about Brazil. Oh, because someone said, oh, football's European, right? And then someone said, oh, Brazil, yeah, what about them? And then someone, yeah, they're Portuguese. So they're Europe as well. And then that was where it hit home, was the fact that, why are Brazilians Portuguese? Why do Brazilians speak Portuguese? What purpose? And the reason they speak Portuguese is because the Christian Portuguese landed on their shores, slaughtered them, and forced the religion on the country.
Yeah, a bit like the Spanish down there.
And the Spanish conquistadors did exactly the same. Yeah? So this highlights that why is South America Christian?
Because,
they had no choice.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, we had this thing called the Spanish Inquisition.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had the power to try kings. Yeah? And persecute you and torture you. And even if you admitted it, they still torture you to purify you. Yeah? Christianity, when it had control of the world, it was a very dark place.
Exactly, but because this then brings back the question to God as such.
Right.
Allah.
Yeah.
Say for instance, right, so the Nicaea, the Trinity.
Right.
Like 325 AD,
yeah.
you say around about
right. Yeah, you was making an equivalent with the Quran, yeah.
Yeah, right. Muhammad comes around almost 300 years later.
Right.
If that Trinity was, sort of created then and all the rest of it, why did God leave it 300 years? If he's looking down and going, Dave knows this totally up.
Yeah.
Like, why has he not sent another messenger before?
Yeah.
Why has he let the mess, or is that Satan sort of part in it? Is it a conflict? All I'm just saying is, if it's there and it's saying it's happening, and it's either being nosed up just in error, let's just imagine it's just an honest error, they totally cocked it up, they honestly believe this Trinity thing, it's a mistake, or it's been, manufactured, for power purposes, etc., whatever.
Right.
Why wait 300 years to send the final message?
It goes back to what I said earlier, that you can only be judged according to what you knew.
Right.
So understand you as a peasant in England.
Yeah.
Flipping Christianity is the thing, or you're tortured. You've got no choice, have you? So that person has an excuse. Yeah? Okay. Now, what we have to understand, we have to get out of our minds that Trinitarianism was the only version of Christianity. There was other versions.
Right.
It took the Council of Nicaea to create the Athanasian Creed, to then go after the other versions. Yeah? So, for example, there's a guy called Michael Servetus. Have you heard of him? No. Okay. He was basically, I think he was Swiss. Was he Swiss, Michael Servetus? I think he was Swiss. And he didn't agree with the divinity of Jesus, and the concept of the Trinity. And he wrote a book called Against the Divinity of Jesus. And when he heard about the Reformation and Luther going against the Pope, and bringing Protestant Christianity, yeah? The time of the Reformation, he thought this was his time to present his book and show them, yeah, I'm with you. And what he didn't realize was the fact that Luther wasn't going against the Trinity. He was just going against the Pope and all of that stuff.
Right, okay.
Do you get me?
Right.
And he was basically put on trial as a heretic.
Right.
Yeah? And at the church trial, they said to him, the sentence is this: you'll be tied to a stake with your book tied to your belt and burned alive as a warning to anybody who has these ideas. Well, this indicates that there were people around, there were Christians around who didn't believe in this idea of Trinity. Unitarian Christians exist today who don't believe in Trinity. Do you understand? But like I say, God's plan is God's plan, and He knows what He's doing.
Essentially, isn't that hypocrisy in itself, contradiction in itself, to be a Unitarian Christian? If it's, to me, if you're a Christian, you believe that Jesus Christ, Christ is. So if you're saying I believe in Jesus Christ, that's. But they're essentially saying they don't believe in God, they just believe in Jesus Christ. Because Jesus Christ to me was a real person. So if they're a Unitarian Christian, all they believe in is just Jesus Christ the man.
No, but what does Christ mean? He's the Messiah. Jesus was the Messiah. No problem. It's the doctrine, it's the Trinitarian doctrine, it's the problem, which had nothing to do with Jesus.
Right.
Yeah? So, fun fact, Protestant Christians don't recognize Catholic Christians as Christians. I know I said it to Richard earlier. They don't. They don't recognize Catholicism as Christianity. Yeah? And I think it's vice versa.
Probably is. Well, I know that born-again Christians believe that other Christians won't even go to heaven unless you are a born-again Christian.
Right, exactly. So, but the thing is, they're all claiming from the same data.
Yeah.
Which is the New Testament, which is not reliable anyway. Yeah? So to be honest with you, to be a Christian in the 21st century, I think is madness. It's like I said to one Christian the other day, that if I didn't become a Muslim, I could never ever fall for Christianity. Yeah? Because my intellect would not allow me to. God, it doesn't make no sense. Forget the stories of, God being three in one. It doesn't make no sense why I should believe anything it says. So let's just say, the New Testament stated Jesus is God incarnate and he is the Son and He will judge you at the end of days. Let's just say He said that. So what? Why should I care what it says? I don't understand why Christians can look at the New Testament and believe what it says. And base their whole lives on what it says. I do know why they do it, because they like what it says. Yeah? Because the New Testament tells them, you can never be good. You're broken. Adam broke you. You can never make yourself right with God through your actions. The only way you can make yourself right with God is to believe that God came as His Son, died on the cross for your sins, and then you can be forgiven. What? You're saying that I can't do anything to reconcile with God, and God is going to die for me, and all I need to do is believe that, and then when I die I have no problems, and yet in this life I can still enjoy myself without any restriction because Jesus killed the law. Yeah, oh wow, brilliant. Of course, it's easy. But when you bring a religion, sorry mate, can't eat that, can't do that, can't do that, can't do that, got to stop doing that, no more of that, yeah, forget the gambling, it's all over, yeah, forget your mortgages, credit cards, debit cards, all of that stuff, store cards, it's all gone mate. Yeah? Get rid of your girlfriend or marry her. Yeah? This is harder to take. Now, what's amazing is Islam is the fastest growing religion in the world. Why is that? Why? Because we're in the age of information. And people are reflecting and contemplating and looking at it. And like you said, people are awakening now. Other people, what you're doing now right now, someone else might go buy a sports car or get a mistress. Yeah? It's called midlife crisis. And it's not a midlife, and what basically is when we're young, we have ambition. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do that, I'm going to pilot, I'm going to whatever. And then we get to 43, sorry, and you think, what now? Because why? Your youth is gone, man. Things are starting to sag a little bit, and you know what I mean? All the mates you grew up with are all married away and this and that. You start thinking, so what? What's it all about? And then you question, what's it about? And then look to the people who have the dough, who have the success, who have the fame, and they're the most miserable, suicidal people on the planet. They're drug addicted, they're in rehab, this. So what does that tell you? Happiness cannot be gained through material Yeah, it can't be because the people have the dough are not happy.
Yeah.
Now, what happens is because we have this idea that if we aim for this material wealth, when we get there, when we win the lottery, when we do this, when we do that, then we'll be happy.
Yeah.
But when you get to the top of the mountain, there's what? There's nothing here.
Yeah, that's it.
And then what happens is the people you're looking to who are getting there to the top of the mountain, they've got to the top of the mountain, they're depressed.
Yeah, that's it.
And you think, wait a minute, he's at the top of the mountain and depressed.
Yeah.
Why am I going to waste my time climbing this mountain? You understand? But the beautiful thing is this, you see, when you embrace Islam, you connect your soul. You know what I said about spirituality? You connect your soul to that creator. And you take the creator's guidance into your life. So whatever you do, you have a guide now. Someone's got your back here, got a decision to make. Is this circumstance good for me, bad for me? Yeah? Is the way I'm leading my life good for me? Like, for example, you see a lot of people in prison accepting Islam. And it's because they get halal meat and they get arrested on a Friday and they get better food. And no, why do people in prison accept Islam? The reason they do that is because, first thing, they've got no distractions. There might be a bit of drugs on the wing or whatever, but the reality is the distractions we have out here, you know, Netflix or whatever, isn't there. So they get time to contemplate and reflect. And then they reflect on their lives and what's brought them to this situation. And it's very, very clear their way of life isn't working for them. Trying to follow the path, this guidance, whatever they're doing, they put them in prison, man, right? So then they seek another way of life. And when they see what Islam can do, because then you realize if you'd follow the teachings of Islam, you wouldn't be here, mate. You wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be here. So this is where they accept Islam. Yeah, and obviously when they come out, they might end up with the old crowd again. That's another story. But the point here is this: when you come to that situation where you realize your way of life isn't working as you thought it might or would, you look for a better way. You really do. And I'll say this to you, Rob. I embraced Islam 16 years ago now, October the 7th, 2001, 3 weeks after 9/11. This had nothing to do with me wanting to emulate any of that nonsense. What happened was it just brought Islam in my lap, and I contemplated and reflected upon it. And you know what? Do you know what it cost me? It cost me my girlfriend. My girlfriend of 6 years. Yeah, 6.5 years, sorry. I had 2 beautiful daughters, 3 and 4 years of age. It cost me them. Because my girlfriend, when I accepted Islam, didn't want to be with me. Because I said to her, if you're with me, we need to be married. Yeah? You don't have to become Muslim, but we need to be married. And I'd like Islam to influence my daughters as they're growing. Yeah? Because there's no point being a Muslim unless you do Islam. Because by accepting Islam, you're accepting the guidance. By accepting the guidance, you're benefiting yourself. And if the guidance is benefiting yourself, you want it to benefit your children and your family and whoever else. So it would be stupid for me to accept Islam, follow the guidance of Islam, and allow my daughters to be to the wolves. Yeah, of course. Yeah, it'd be stupid. But then I accepted the point that my girlfriend, you know what, she didn't want the girlfriend not having Christmas and birthdays and all that business. Which is fine. It's a bit emotional, but it's fine. So I gave a chance, and then she, you know, there was no way she was going to marry me. So I had to leave. So by embracing Islam, I lost my daughters and my girlfriend. Fun fact. My missus, she went back to Wigan. She was from Wigan originally. And she was in a nightclub on her birthday. And she'd seen this geezer. She thought it was me, right? And she said to her friends, what's he doing here? Yeah? It wasn't me, obviously. But it was a geezer who looked exactly the same as me. Ginger hair, big ears, big nose. Exactly the same. Same name. Darren, right? She's married to him now. Yeah? Got kids and whatever together. And it was amazing. It was like, Allah says, I'm taking him and you can have him. Yeah, you've got Darren, ginger hair and all that, yeah? And at the same time, you know, and I was concerned, you see, I thought, oh, she's gonna have boyfriends going through the house, my daughters, and he'd just come out of a relationship where he won custody of his daughter. So that tell me, he's a good guy, man. And it was amazing because Allah says something, you know, Allah will take care of whatever you have to, you know, and I'm forever grateful for that. But anyway, so I lost that. I was a mortgage advisor, I had my own finance company. Lost that, can't do the interest no more. My father refused to speak to me from that point. We've broke the ice again now, we're back talking. He's met his grandkids now, and he's fell in love with my granddaughters, because I've gotten 2 daughters with my wife now. Because 3 months after accepting Islam, I went to Morocco and got married. They mess around. Right? So alhamdulillah, because as non-Muslims it's on tap, innit? Once it's not on tap and you can't do it unless you're married, and of course you need to get married ASAP. Do you get me? So now here's the amazing thing, yeah. I know I'm going a bit long-winded here.
It's all right.
I could never pull a girl as good looking as my wife. MashaAllah, alhamdulillah. In a million years. Out of my league. Yeah? But as a Muslim, alhamdulillah. And the beautiful thing is I have a beautiful wife, but when she's out, everyone's not ogling her. Do you understand? So I don't have that issue. Because I spoke to this boy, a Carlos guy, very nice guy, mashallah, bit of a gangster. Yeah, good guy. Bit naughty. Anyway, he was cutting me hair, he was a bit of a barber. And I was asking him, what made you happy, mate? What made you happy in life? He goes, good woman made me happy. I said, what do you mean? Yeah, you go, good looking blonde, whatever. So that made you happy? Yeah, I'm happy. How are you going to keep that happiness? He goes, what do you mean? I says, well, let's say you've got a beautiful, stunning model blonde. That means other people are going to think she's stunning and beautiful, right? And we're living in the West here, yeah? And the way girls dress here, they wear the way girls dress here, yeah? They want a bit of Towie influence or whatever, and, they dress as they dress. Now, if you go out with your missus, everyone's going to be looking at her. She's so good looking. Yeah. And then what happens? You'll be like, because you're a bit of a gangster, innit? Yeah? Right? And you're going to start brawling with total strangers, which is one thing. But what happens when she doesn't go out with you? You're at home and your mind starts thinking. Yeah. Because they're looking at her now, they're looking at her, they look at her when you're with her. Now she's not with you. Are they chatting to her, they're talking to her? And she comes home a bit late, maybe missed the bus. Where you been, whatever. So what happens then? You drive her away. Yeah? So you get your happiness temporarily, but you'll become possessive and jealous of it, and you will push her away, and you won't be able to keep it. But if you're Muslim, and you got your beautiful stunner, and you go out with her, nobody's looking at her. Nobody's looking at her, right? And when she's out without you, no one's looking at her. Yeah? So if your route to happiness is a beautiful, stunning, good-looking woman, then accept Islam. Because you get a beautiful woman, or you can get a beautiful woman, that everyone's not going to be staring at, and you're not going to have this business in jealousy. Yeah, Allah, alhamdulillah. Yeah? And at the same time, if you've got a practicing Muslim woman, you don't have to worry about cheating, this, that, yeah? And even if you have arguments, you have the cement of Islam to, if we have my wife have an argument, for example, yeah, we can pull Islam out of the sky. Yeah, but Islam says, you should really do this. And she can say to me, yeah, well, look, Islam says I don't have to go to work. You have to go to work. You know that in Islam, a Muslim woman doesn't have to go to work. A Muslim husband has to go to work. Get out, earn the corn. Has to. No choice. If a Muslim woman chooses to go out to work, the Muslim husband cannot ask her to pay for the bills, nor ask her for any money, nor ask her what she's done with her money. This is a Muslim woman, yeah? That was just for the ladies out there, yeah? This is why women are embracing Islam 7-1. Yeah, this is why this misogynistic, oppressive religion to women, and women are embracing it at a rate, and not just women, intellectual, Western, educated women are choosing, Sherry Blair's sister, Lauren Booth, you know that?
No, I didn't know
that.
that.
You know Sherry Blair? Her sister Lauren, her name's Sherry Booth, isn't it?
Yeah, Tony Booth's daughters, isn't it?
Yeah. Lauren Booth, she's a Muslim.
I never knew that.
Yeah? Western educated women are embracing Islam. For you to embrace Islam, Rob, yeah, it's not an abnormality. It really isn't.
Not a what, sorry?
It's not something strange.
Right, no.
It's not abnormal. Yeah? Because Islam is not a bowl of curry or wearing a dress. Yeah? All Islam will do for you is to put a guide in your life, like I said.
I like what you said earlier, it's a moral anchor.
Yeah, you have a standard.
Yeah.
Because at least you have something to hold yourself against.
Exactly. I mean, I was talking to someone else as well, and I think that, in the past, and I'm not that fit at the minute, but I've run a couple of marathons before, and I've swerved alcohol for 4 or 5 months, not a drop, just because I've been dedicated to my training, etc. And then during those periods, you feel the freshest that you've ever felt, and you actually start to really appreciate your body.
Subhanallah.
How blessed you are. And then, then the more I think about it, and then you think, these things are there to help you, for goodness, you know,
Exactly.
this, that and the other, you know what I
Yes.
mean? It's not a case of like they're there to suppress you from anything, they're there to enhance your life.
This is the whole
They're there to, but you know, I mean, you know, we're blessed, you know, this body, we've got the air to breathe, we've got everything else, you know, fucking use it to the best
No,
of its
exactly,
ability.
and keep it safe from harm. And like I said, we was having this conversation earlier, and it got a bit madness. You know, the madness, yeah.
Yeah.
But come on, we're having a conversation where something profound in the Quran says this: that alcohol, even though there's some benefit, the harm is greater. That's quite profound. Now, the man in the debate, he couldn't even concede the fact that alcohol's harmful. Yeah, the fact that it destroys your liver. You know, George Best, for example. Yeah, how many liver transplants you had to keep alive, only because of alcohol.
And even if it doesn't destroy your liver on the outside, I mean, I don't want to be one of those blokes, you know, just makes you feel, you know what I mean? You know, like these guys, it's there, the old beer belly, all the rest of it,
exactly.
it's just...
Well, mine's donuts. Let's go.
But you know what I mean?
No, I understand. Yeah,
you know, it's not.
And the other thing is, if you look, you know, that you see the homeless people on the streets. Yeah, I guarantee you, one of these 5 things I've mentioned is the reason for them.
Yeah, definitely.
Whether it be drugs, alcohol, whether it be gambling.
Yeah.
And you know, I used to work in the bookies. Yeah, I worked in the bookies for 1 year. After that, never bet on horses and dogs. Anyway, I worked in the bookies for 1 year. I also worked in a pub. So in the bookies, I watch people come in on a Friday. Yeah, got the wages. They come and put a bet on, and then they cross the road to a pub,
Sounds like money.
watch the race, and come back.
Yeah.
And then they put another bet on. And I'm watching them deteriorating. And then they'll put the bet on, they'll get the change, they'll turn around, the diddler's there, they'll put it in the fruit machine. And they'll spunk the whole wages. Then they've got to, yeah, you know, squat. And then you go home, where's the wages? And then that's just arguing the missus. You understand? And if you're drunk, you never know what's going to happen because of your inhibitions are lowered and whatever.
Yeah.
And then this is one thing leads to another. These situations occur, man, yeah?
No, yeah, they are, as I say, they are poison.
And then I worked in a pub, right? Imagine this, I'd rejected Islam. No, sorry, rejected Islam, stuff like that. I'd rejected alcohol, right? So I'd give up drinking alcohol after Muslims spoke to me exactly the way I spoke to you today with regards to alcohol. Now, the way I was trying to explain to the other guy about alcohol, yeah? That I said, you know what? You're bang on. Alcohol is no good for me. I don't know why I've drunk it. Now, I'm the man who worked in Zakynthos at 17, Falaraki in 21, all the tequila bar, slammer tours and all that nonsense, yeah? So I've been drinking, you know, dummy club on a Sunday, and Sunday pub football, pool team.
Yeah,
you know, I used to go to the pub on a Sunday morning, yeah, about 9 o'clock. Meet the boys, yeah? From there we go play pub Sunday football.
Yes, sir.
Come back to the pub, drink in games, whatever, eat the sandwiches, yeah? And then roll by 5, 6 o'clock, time for the pool team. I was captain of the pool team. Go to another pub or stay there. And I'd get home 11:30 at night, man. A whole day just drinking. You know what I'm saying? That was how I was. So anyway, after speaking to Muslims, because my friend was a Muslim, yeah? And I decided to stop drinking alcohol. Even my sister's wedding, I didn't.
It must have been tough at the start. I mean, even then, like the habitual side.
I'm ruthless. I'm ruthless.
Yeah.
If I make a decision,
I mean, I'm quite good with short-term stuff. As I say, I mean, I stopped it for 4 months when I was training for the marathons. And I could be really, yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what I believe, right? I believe we have a conscious and a subconscious. And the majority of people, their subconscious rules. So whatever the conscious wants to do, it's the subconscious that will decide what happens. So someone might want to give up smoking or give up alcohol. But if the subconscious wants to still do that stuff, it will overrule the conscious, yeah? And you'll give and your willpower will break.
Brothers come all the way from Malaysia. They just say they saw the videos, they wanted to say hello. Alhamdulillah. Salam alaikum, my brother.
Well, I'm your follower, not just a fan.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Okay. Right. What was I saying?
But that's nice, fine.
Yeah. Well,
no, we'll talk about the alcohol, giving out you're ruthless.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Sorry, yeah. Keep digressing.
Yeah.
Forgive me. Right, so conscious, subconscious. All right. So I believe that the subconscious controls the conscious. Now, this is why, you know, when someone hypnotized, yeah, what the hypnotist will do, he'll speak to the subconscious. Yeah. So Paul McKenna stopped smoking. Yeah. You'll go see Paul McKenna. He'll hypnotize you. He'll speak to your subconscious, and he'll tell the subconscious you don't want to smoke anymore. Yeah? Then what happens then, your subconscious will overrule your conscious. So if your subconscious doesn't want to smoke anymore, for whatever reasons has been given, it will overrule your conscious, yeah? All right. Now I believe personally, I'm the opposite. I can't be hypnotized. Yeah? So with me, my conscious rules my subconscious, because there are some people like this. So when you go to in them hypnosis clubs, they ask you to do this thing where you put your fingers together like this. And if you can't separate your fingers, you could be hypnotized. Now, I pretended I couldn't separate my fingers because I wanted to be hypnotized, yeah? It's the worst mistake of my life. I'm on this stage, right? Everyone else is doing all this stupidity, and I'm like thinking, what the hell am I doing? I can't see anything. And I had a problem now. I'm gonna make everyone else look stupid. There's nothing happening. So I had to go along with it, right? So that's how I am. So when I give up something, if I say I'm not going to smoke, I'm not going to drink, if I want to smoke, that's it, it's finished. If I don't want to drink alcohol, I'm not going to drink alcohol. As long as the reason is logical.
But you must still find it.
Nah.
You say you're ruthless, but maybe not to the point of tough, but there must be, it's habitual, isn't it? Or you might get a little bit of a pang, but then you can just overrule it straight away.
No, because why? It's all about the reason why. I'm going to give you another story now. There's one boy, right? And he was working in a market in Harlow. And this young boy, 18-year-old boy, he used to smoke all the time. I says, why you quit smoking, man? It's flipping, it could kill you. He goes, oh, no, I'll be all right. I says, what would you do if the doctor said you'd be dead in 6 months? Would you stop smoking? He went, nah, I'm addicted, man. I couldn't stop smoking. I'm addicted. Really? If the doctor said you're going to be dead in 6 months, you wouldn't stop smoking? Nah, arrogance. Nah, all right, fair enough. What if you've married a supermodel, beautiful, stunning missus, and the doctor said if you don't stop smoking, you're not going to get to enjoy time with your wife? Would you stop smoking? Nah, I'm addicted, mate. Oh, fair enough. What if your supermodel's pregnant? So you got a supermodel pregnant wife, and the doctor said if you don't stop smoking, you won't see the birth of your baby. Would you stop smoking? Maybe, right? Maybe. Okay, supermodel wife, pregnant, yeah? And you just won the lottery. And the doctor says, if you don't stop smoking, you'll be dead in 6 months, you won't see the birth of your baby, and you won't get to enjoy your lottery winnings. Would you stop smoking? Yes. Now, what's happened here? What happened to the addiction?
Yeah.
What changed? The reason why.
The reason, yeah.
So what happens is this, you see, Rob, once the reason why becomes big enough, yeah. And as long as that reason why is... Oh, you're going to pray. You're still here?
No, I've got to get all the way back to sunny Essex and do some stuff. But it has been.
Can we exchange details if you don't mind?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But we'll come back up here again.
Yeah. Where in Essex are you?
Do you know Billericay?
Yeah, I know Billericay. Yeah. But I don't know Billericay, but I know where Billericay is. Down the A13,
yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So what do your friends think of you having these tendencies?
I don't know.
Oh, wow.
Well, no, I'm not really bothered. I mean, at the end of the day, it's not like you've got to be the most overt Muslim in the world, is it? I mean, if I went over to the golf club and I said, like, I'm not drinking anymore, boys, I don't think anyone would particularly...
Really? Well, that's my fault, man.
I'll probably take a little bit of stick, but at the end of the day, between me and my mates, we're all fairly sort of fit lads anyway, and, if I just said I don't want to drink anymore, it's just my choice.
I got in fights in pubs because of that. One guy said, why are you drinking? I said, nah, man. I
don't really go to pubs. I'm not, the only place I really drink is over the golf club.
Look, it says to me...
if I came out and said that I'm converted to Muslim, don't get me wrong, I'll get ripped to shit. It's just a fact. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to sit there and say, but at the end of the day, I actually, not even for the whole sort of love to reality, we all got to come with it, but that moral, like you said, that moral guidance, and the end. Otherwise, my life's just going to end up just being a wishy-washy.
Yeah, you need purpose.
You need for here and now, and then it's gone, and then it's gone, and then to what purpose was that? How did I actually make the most of my opportunity?
SubhanAllah, beautiful way of thinking. How do you want to do this? Phone-wise, Facebook-wise? How do you want to do it?
You can do Facebook if you want.
You want to do it Facebook-wise?
Or I just do the numbers or whatever.
All right.
I don't really go on Facebook, to be honest.
All right, then I'll add you this way then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be good to talk, man.
Most definitely.
So will you come up here once a month, yeah?
Bro, I live in East London. So there's no reason why, if you want to hook up, we can't hook up.
Yeah, wicked.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. We've got this man to thank mainly.
No, alhamdulillah.
Abdul, I work with him, and we've been having good chats over the last year.
So just so we know where you are, you believe the only thing worthy of worship is the Creator, yeah?
Yeah.
And what about Muhammad? What do you believe about him? Do you believe he was a messenger of God or not a messenger of God? Or?
Well, I do, from everything that I've heard, I do, yeah. I have no reason to not believe it from everything that I've heard so far. If I'm being really honest, I still need to read more and to learn and to sort of, get a clearer picture.
Alhamdulillah. What I'll say to you, Rob, is this, you see. To be a Muslim, you need to believe two things. That the only thing worthy of worship is God Almighty, and that Muhammad, peace and blessings upon him, is his messenger. Okay. If you believe these two things, you can be a Muslim.
Okay.
Islam, learning Islam, will be the rest of your life. No one's telling you to stop doing this, stop doing that. No, you just, a flower doesn't grow on a day. You say your Shahada, you embrace Islam, and then the rest of your life you'll become a Muslim and you'll do Islam. And when you're strong enough, you'll come out and tell the people, I'm a Muslim. But I wouldn't do that if you don't believe Muhammad is a messenger of God.
Okay.
So if you don't believe Muhammad is a messenger of God right now, then I wouldn't accept it. If you do accept he is, looking at the example and the way people are following his example, I would accept it. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, sure. No, definitely. Well, as I say, I'm going to talk my so I'm not going to say commit myself because that would be doing injustice.
No,
I want to do it properly.
What I would do if I was you,
I haven't studied enough.
What I would do is, if I was you then, is commit yourself to studying one thing. Is Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, who he claimed to be?
Okay.
That's all you need to do.
Okay.
Nothing else. And if he is, accept it. Robert, have a take care about the ability, yeah?
Mate.
Take care.
Take care.
Assalamu alaikum. Have you got a Quran?
I have, yeah. I have
Which one did you give him?
I don't know, I had one I think about.
I'm going to give you this one. This is the reason I like this one is Marmaduke Pickthall, yeah? Because this guy's an English revert, convert to Islam. He was an author, yeah? Back in the day, obviously, he used to give dawah to royalty. But what I like about him, when he translates the Quran, he doesn't do brackets and embellish and have his own thoughts. He just gives it as it is. Where other Qur'ans, they might put a lot of things in brackets and you start thinking, is that
interpretations or whatever? Yeah.
He actually wrote this against another English translation of the Quran, where the author of that kind of added his own understandings in the words. And what he was specific, he said, I'm not going to do that. That's why I like that. The only thing is like, oh, they and thou and with the.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the old English.
Robert,
anyway,
take care, my man.